Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today, it's very special episode because we have Sebastian here with us. He's involved in trading and has a trading university. So, Sebastian, please introduce yourself and this amazing thing that you have to the audience, please.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me on. It really is an honor to be here. Like you said, my name is Sebastian. I am a 23-year-old immigrant and full-time entrepreneur and trader. And more than an entrepreneur, I think there's two types, and I'm sure you've come across a lot of them. The entrepreneurs that are chasing a dollar as opposed to those chasing a purpose, right? So I'm very purpose-driven and very purpose-orientated, and I think that's what helped my business succeed the most. So, like you said, yeah, I do stocks. But my mission was to fix the industry. So I created a system that's very accessible to everyone, one of the first of its kind, in order to open the doors for all sorts of people to enter into that world of finance.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's an interesting angle that you're actually having this option to make it accessible for everyone because a lot of people think, oh, this is just, like Wall Street type of investment needed to get
Right.
into the game. So what's needed, like in terms, what's the starting point that someone actually can jump in on this?
Well, as far as the dollar amount for a personal investment, any, I mean, even a couple $100s is fine. You can start with anything, and that's the power of investing, especially in the stock market, is it's so accessible and it's easy to leverage even small amounts. So it's the first doorway for a lot of people to actually build up their money to make bigger investments like real estate or start their own businesses or whatever. We don't often have the time to work more jobs than we already do. So we have to get out of the mind space of trading time for money and instead trading money for money in something like the market, which is very accessible. So even just a couple $100s is more than enough to start with for a beginner, even.
Yeah, wonderful. And what inspired you to actually start this business?
Well, the main thing was I had been learning about stocks and trading since I was 14. So since I was very young, I undertook it on my birthday to go to this big seminar and start learning about all this stuff. And I started teaching myself too. And by the age of 20, I had become a full-time trader. I had quit my job to do trading full-time, and it was a good job too. I worked in banquets. Um, but what I found was I had another opportunity to not only change my life, but others as well, because I noticed how the industry of finance was. It's a terrible industry, unfortunately. There's a lot of people that love to gatekeep information, just charge thousands of dollars for really basic information sometimes. And then at the end of their course, they just tell you, now for the real information, there's another $2,000 course that you can pay for. It sucks, right? And that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you just get scammed straight up. Finance is a difficult industry to break into, and that's the reason why a lot of people in the lower middle classes, like how I was, are trapped there. Because I always keep this book with me, Rich Dad Poor Dad. The
It's a good
rich get
one.
richer. Yes, the rich get richer because they know about these tools, and the poor get poorer because they don't. And it became very obvious to me why that was when I looked at the industry and I saw all these guys that are either scammers or they love to charge thousands of dollars for just basic level information, or just kids on YouTube with rented cars in the background. It's very difficult to find a place that you trust. So I decided to fix that in the industry. So my platform, my program, the way that I positioned it was so that anyone that comes in, they learn, practice, and profit before ever having to pay. So it's a question of only ever paying out of profit, never out of pocket.
Wow, great. Yeah, fantastic. And so, what are some of the sort of like best results people got when they're working with you or using your system?
Yeah. Well, I could say about the best results, and I mean that's definitely something that happens every now and then. But every now and then you get a huge explosive trade, and you make 10x profit or whatever. It happens every now and then. But I tell everyone to mostly focus on consistency. I've had people make upwards of tens of thousands of dollars overnight, especially with the tariffs when the market plummeted really hard. That's a lot of volatility, which means a lot of profit for us. However, the numbers that I put out into the world, because I want people not to look for those explosive trades, I want people to look for consistency instead. That's how you make a living off of trading. I tell people aim to make 40% profit, and when you lose, aim to only lose 10 to 15%. That's a good risk to reward ratio. And then aim to also have a strategy that makes you succeed 80% of the time, 90% of the time at least. So that, even just following those numbers over the span of 10 trades, you're going to be successful. And that money keeps compounding. So it's a question of risk management more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally a mindset and business coach, and when it comes to being consistent and having a risk management, it's I believe, once you have the strategy or the right strategy in place, I believe that it's a lot to do with mindset. Like, what do you
Hmm.
see in sort of your clients when it comes to mindset and consistency and strategy?
That's a really good question, man, because trading, I would say, being successful as an investor, no matter if it's in stocks or real estate or whatever, it boils down almost 90% to mindset and discipline, right? Making money is actually, I would consider that's the easy part of trading. I mean, even some of my newest people within a week or two are already able to see some small profits of a couple $100s or whatever. But the hard part, especially as you grow and you turn your first thousand into 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, at around that point, the greed starts to set in and it gets really hard to adhere to the risk management, right? So I tell everyone, listen, before you focus on profiting, focus on consistency and focus on discipline. Focus on meditating, focus on really keeping a level head and knowing not to look for the profit, but to look for the trade, look for the consistency of it all, right? So, and that applies to everything. That's great advice for any domain in life, even for like, if you want to talk about fitness, if you are always looking for immediate results in your physique, you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to give up, because you're going to get sick of it. Instead, if you look for the consistency, if you look to stay steady there, you're going to see results over time. So the mindset that I see with my clients early on, they're usually pretty aggressive and they want to make a quick buck. But as they continue, they learn to be peaceful and a lot more calm with it. And that's what ends up breeding them a lot of results. So calmly and steadily, surely, they've all kind of gotten to this level of being at a couple of $1,000s and at least making a couple $100s a month at a minimum.
Great. And what inspires you about what you do?
Well, it's mostly seeing because again, it's a passion project. It's purpose that drives me. It was opening these doors for people that was the reason why I even started this business in the first place. So what I guess inspires me the most is seeing some of my clients who, like I said, rich dad, poor dad, right? Some people that are not born into the upper classes, they're never in these conversations. They're almost disqualified from the game of success before it even starts for them, right? So what inspires me the most is seeing how some of the most unlikely people from my clientele are able to succeed so much. I have this one lady who's in her 60s, 70s. She's already retired and she has cancer, but obviously retirement sucks now. You don't get paid a lot of money once you retire today. But she's able to make plenty of money from trading that's able to kind of supplement that. And that's the kind of stuff that inspires me because before this, she had never invested before in her life. So that's kind of where my drive comes from every day.
Yeah, that's the drive. And then also, when it comes to, because you also took like this specific angle, it looks like you're very successful in what you do. And then you started actually teaching others how to sort of copy this success. Yeah. So why did you end up in that game? Why didn't you just stay in what you were doing and do it for yourself and keep all the information and stuff,
Right.
like what a lot of people do. So,
Well, there's two big reasons. The first and more important is I'm a very faith oriented person as well. I am religious and I wanted to give back to the church in a way. So I began by providing this information for people in the church, and it kind of just expanded from there. And secondly, it's the fact that the way that every entrepreneur should operate, right? The way that you distinguish a fake entrepreneur, like an Instagram entrepreneur, from a real one, is whether they have a purpose or not. And the way that you find purpose, if I wanted to be a fake entrepreneur and make a quick dollar, I could have done the $2,000 courses and all the YouTube stuff and rented cars, whatever. But if I wanted to be and have a purpose, I was going to find something much bigger that's going to have an impact in the world. And maybe not immediately, but one day it will be seen and it will see a massive profit and expansion. So my purpose was I noticed how the industry had that flaw and I realized if I can fix something in the world, why not do it? Right? And sure enough, 3 years later after I started my business, I saw it quadruple and then quadruple again in just a span of a few months because of that.
wow. Fantastic. And then on top of that, if you like, what piece of advice you can share with someone who is thinking about maybe getting into trading, maybe starting this, but they're not sure where to start?
Find the right place. Uh, it's difficult to teach yourself. Teaching yourself will lead to a lot of problems. You have to have someone to back you up. So make sure to look thoroughly and find the right place. Find someone that can help you. Don't jump in. Don't pay for a $2,000 course. If possible, try to find someone that will teach you for free at first. Because again, if you're preaching, there's a lot of trader guys that they preach about money. They preach about how much money they're making, and they want to charge you up front first. That doesn't make sense to me. I think, hey, if I'm gonna teach you how to do well and succeed, why not just charge afterwards just to keep the business going, right? So look for that kind of environment. Look for a place that can take care of you properly.
Nice. And like, how did you actually learn about this?
Well, my dad on my birthday, my 15th birthday, had taken me to a seminar that they were doing here in Orlando on trading. It was a gentleman from Colombia who was teaching about options trading, and it was a big event, and that's kind of what got me started and gave me the curiosity to at least teach myself as well.
Wow, nice. And if someone wants to actually find out a little bit more about you, connect to you, and how they can do that?
Well, there's two big ways. I'd like to speak with everyone on a personal level because, again, this is a passion project for me. And I like to see, the exact circumstances that the people have, exactly where they need help. So I always say the easiest way is just on my phone number. Even just a quick text, I always respond to. So that's 407-952-4871. And as far as getting, into my website or whatever, that's stocksuni.com, stocksuni.com.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely include those details in the description of this episode.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
yeah, that would be fantastic. So if there is, before we go, if there is any question, maybe I didn't ask you anything that you would like to share with our audience, anything else, like maybe you can tell us now.
Yeah, well, I suppose a question that I'd have for you is, what helped your businesses blow up? What helped you expand?
Well, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a business and mindset coach, and obviously the results that I got early on in my career for my clients. First, I was working as a mindset coach on professional tennis tour, and we had some really great successes with some young players. And then, from there, it took me to different places around the world, and I met a lot
Wow.
of cool people. Traveled for 7 years and stuff, and then yeah, obviously it went into my passion and started working with businesses. And it's really important that you find your passion. That's one
Right.
one thing for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And once you find that, once you can actually, for me personally, like the biggest thing is when I work with someone, when I see after they went through all these struggles and all these hardships, when I see the transformation they go through, and then how they blossom, that's really something that inspires me. And I believe that that's really what motivates me, and as a result, like
Right.
that's what really gets good results for others in the business as well. So
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
totally agree. I mean, for me, it was public speaking. I think public speaking is the biggest hack for all business owners. If you can
Mhm.
really master that, I mean, it's so easy to just, I mean, that helped my business blow up because it's a question. Speaking is an instrument for passion and purpose. And that is the only thing that matters in today's world where anyone can be an entrepreneur. The only thing that matters now is, who's really got a mission, who's really got something to put out into the world and not just looking to take. Real entrepreneurs give, fake entrepreneurs take, right? So that's also why, I mean, I started my own agency. I made my own public speaking agency, and that's how they got in touch with you. That's how we've gotten in touch with a lot of big events. I've gone and spoken at the United Nations as well.
Wow.
And that is what has helped not only my business succeed, but also a lot of other people that have helped use the same system as well for public speaking. So that's something else that I mean, if you or other people are ever interested in, I built that from the ground up. I made my own speaking agency and I hired myself to do that. And I think for all entrepreneurs, that's a non-negotiable talent for success. Public speaking is essential.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, what's the? Can you tell us a little bit more about this business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the second business that well, the second main business. I've been running businesses since I was 16, but this is the second big project.
I
Um,
believe, sorry to interrupt you, but like, I
yeah.
really believe that maybe we should have another episode,
Yeah,
where we can talk about this and just maybe let us know like where people can find out a little bit more about the agency. And I believe we can definitely jump on another episode. It's going to be interesting for the audience to hear more about that.
absolutely. Sounds perfect to me. Yeah, get in touch with my agent and they definitely will definitely schedule something else. I love to talk about that as well too, because that, I mean, stocks is good for leveraging money, but for an entrepreneur, because I know you have a lot of wonderful leaders in your audience, a lot of church and entrepreneurs that are there just looking to really blow up. And I mean, I spent pretty much 3 years struggling with my business before it blew up, and that's what helped me. So I'd love to hop on another episode sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Excellent. Fantastic. Sebastian, so nice to have you here. I'm so excited, to share this episode with the audience. And then on top of that, like looking forward to a next episode and to everyone watching us. Like if you like the episode, drop us a like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, and also check out the links below, for Sebastian's business. And let's go from there. See you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.